The Electrical Life of Louis Wain, out on Amazon Prime, new biopic starring Benedict Cumberbatch, Claire Foy, Andrea Riseborough, and Toby Jones, with additional voiceover narration done by Olivia Colman. Now, a quick aside, it is remarkable how many real-life tortured geniuses Cumberbatch has played at this point in time. He's been Julian Assange in The Fifth Estate, Alan Turing in The Imitation Game, Thomas Edison in The Current War, and Greville Wynne in The Courier. And even his roles, which are not historical people, tend to also be these kind of brilliant geniuses who are not exactly normal in terms of social interactions. Sherlock Holmes in Sherlock and Doctor Strange in the MCU. So now he's playing Louis Wain, which on paper fits the same exact pattern. But in actuality, this role is quite different, as it is much more tortured than it is genius, tapping into the vulnerability and fragility of the character much more than Cumberbatch usually does. So if, like me, you had no idea who Louis Wain was, he was the man who tried many different things in life, but the one he's remembered for the most are his drawings of cats, which apparently were one of the reasons that cats became popular as house pets in the Western world in the first place. Look them up, and I'm pretty sure that you'll know which ones we're talking about. They're very characteristic, and you must have seen some of them at some point, even if you didn't know who made them, especially after the advent of internet as the medium which tends to really idolize cats in all shapes and forms. The film starts its story on the day when Louis, already an adult man, is working as an illustrator for a London-based newspaper, and he comes home to meet the newly hired governess for his 5 sisters and immediately falls in love with her, which then leads to a controversial, due to the class and age differences, marriage. And from that point on, we stay with Louis for the rest of his life, through struggles with his family, with finances, his wife's illness, and then his own mental issues, through wide success, which unfortunately did not bring too much money his way, and finally into the increasingly devastating mania that meant he spent the last years of his life in a madhouse. So I think the story itself is relatively interesting, but admittedly, this probably isn't necessarily a person you would seek out to find out about their life story. He's not particularly known or fascinating on the surface. But the movie manages to work mainly due to 2 things. First of all, it's in how it manages to find optimism and smile and this sort of quiet determination in all of the tragedy that's in it. Despite the devastating things that keep happening to Louis and his family, he continues to work, he continues to draw his cats, which brings so much pleasure to the people around the world. And I felt that optimism is almost infectious, and at times it makes you forget how depressing the story would be if it didn't have this subtly positive atmosphere to it. Secondly, I think it is very beautifully shot. A lot of the scenes look like drawings or paintings from that time period, and they especially utilize warm colors very, very well. It really is a joy to look at for a lot of its runtime. The performances are solid. Cumberbatch, as I said, is unusually vulnerable and human in the role, even though he does use some of the tricks that he's known for. He's got great chemistry with Claire Foy, who is also amazing, and you believe the blossoming romance between the 2 of them. There's also a bunch of entertaining supporting performances, and there are also a few really odd cameos, which were very surprising, but also kind of distracting at times, especially 2 of them. One was Richard Ayoade, who had normal hair and normal voice, and so it's kind of jarring to see his scene, knowing it's him. Just something feels off. And then there's also a small cameo from Taika Waititi, which I found annoying, unfortunately. He attempts to do an American accent, and he just feels really ham-fisted into the film and just jarring. I mean, I love the guy, more so behind the camera than in front of it, but between Free Guy and now this, he's just been a little irritating to me lately. Having said that, I think that on the whole, The Electrical Life of Louis Wain is a competently made film which lands its emotional beats and looks much better than I would have anticipated. I'm still not sure whether it will find its audience, because I think it's not the kind of obviously popular type of film, but I enjoyed it.